She says, I feel lonely in this marriage, and something in your chest just drops. Because from where you're standing, you've been doing everything. You're working, you're providing, you're showing up. And so when she says that she's lonely, it doesn't sound like a request to you. It sounds like an indictment. If you've ever heard those words and felt something between confused and defeated, or just plain angry, this episode's for you. Here's the moment that trips up almost every man I work with. Your wife says she's lonely, and your brain immediately goes looking for a solution. You wind up hearing it as, you're failing me. So you start running through all of the evidence, the hours you worked this month, the bills you paid, the fact that you haven't raised your voice in weeks. You wind up building a case for the defense in your head while she's still talking. And the more airtight your case feels, the more confused you get, because none of it changes what she said. She still feels lonely. And now you wind up feeling like you've been accused for something that you can't find a reason for, which is its own kind of hell. Now, here's what makes this so disorienting. Loneliness inside a marriage doesn't mean alone. It means unseen. She can be sitting there 3 feet from you every night and still feel lonely because the version of you in the room with her is managing the house, checking your phone. You're just halfway present. Providing and being present are not the same thing, and most men were never taught the difference. You were taught to solve problems. So when she says lonely, you go looking for a problem to solve, like more date nights, a big gesture, or working less. And sometimes those things do help, but they miss the actual ask, because the ask was never a project. It was never really about what you do for her. It's about whether or not she can feel you, actually feel your presence when you're in the room. And that's different than the question of asking yourself, am I doing enough? And that's also something that most men have never been asked to answer. Now, here's the part that can sting if you let it. You can be a good provider, a good father, a faithful husband, and still be missing in the one way that would have actually reached her. Now, that's not a character flaw. It's a gap that nobody pointed out to you, and it's one that's completely closable once you know what you're actually looking for. So here's the one thing to try. Tonight, when she says she's lonely, don't try to reach for a fix and don't reach for a defense. I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath first and then listen. Actually listen to what she's saying, not what you're interpreting it to mean. Now that's going to be a hell of a lot harder than it sounds. Your brain wants to move fast, either to explain yourself or to solve the problem. Both of those pull you out of the room before she's finished talking. It makes sense as to why those come up because, again, it feels like a target on you, something that she's saying that you're failing at. What it actually is her reaching for you and trying to bring you in. So I'm going to invite you to listen without fixing, without analyzing, or without defending it. This is the part that's actually going to begin to reach her. Let me give you an example here, because this plays out in almost the same way for most of the men that I work with. I'm going to invite you to picture a guy. We'll call him Mark. His wife says, I feel so lonely in this marriage lately. Now, Mark's first instinct is the instinct that most men have. He starts listing, I took the day off for your birthday. I've been getting home by 6 every night this month, and the work's piling up on me. He wound up building his case before he even decided to. Now, I'm going to invite you to picture the same moment, but one where Mark catches it before that list in his head starts, where he takes a deep breath and he says, tell me more about that. And he actually listens, not for the counter argument, just for what she means. She says something like, I feel like I start talking and you're already halfway to fixing it before I finish the sentence. That's the real information. Mark couldn't have gotten to it from inside of his own defense. That fix was never going to touch what she actually said because he hadn't heard it yet. Now, if you recognized yourself in this version of Mark, that first version of Mark, that's not an indictment. That's just the instinct that almost every man walks into one of these conversations with. The second version is available to you too. If this is something that's landing, again, you are not failing as a husband, and she is not asking for something impossible. This is a common pattern I see in my clinical work, and it is completely learnable once you know what you're actually being asked for. In case you want to chat about this and find out what we can do to help you in these types of situations, in the show notes, you're going to find a link to book a clarity call with me. If you would like, go ahead and do that. It's completely free, and you can see whether or not this might be something that can help you in your marriage. It just lasts for 30 minutes, and the goal of it is to give you a clearer picture instead of a guess of what's going on. I'm Alyssa, and I'll talk to you soon.